Dad Fogg says, are the Cats just inconsistent? When we say inconsistent, I mean, they still basically win more than they lose, don't they? But gee, they really battle some days, and look, I reckon they've had two performances this year that really shone. One was, in fact, last week was really a half of footy, wasn't it? And the game against Hawthorn, I thought they were great that night. But
how does that stand up now with Hawthorn's
lack of
post that? Yeah, Rowan, you had a feeling in the first quarter. It had that. I knew there wasn't going to be a lot of schooling, but again, we had that sort of finals football, for want of a better term. It was pretty hard to get it. Every kick was hard earned, and that ability to break clear was a rare commodity. And I just feel as though when finals football is being played, it's not really something that Geelong have been able to flourish with in that environment in the last few years.
Well, it should be. It should be, because they've got. Last year they had the best defence in the league. Their defensive record this year is good.
But the scoring dries up terribly for them.
Yeah. I mean, look, no one would have worked harder on finding out or trying to nail the difference between their home and away form and finals form than they would. But again, and I've said this a number of times, last year's finals campaign for them, they blew the qualifying final, but they lost it by 10 points, and they lost the preliminary final by 19 points after leading Richmond by a fair margin. So, they weren't far off winning a flag last year.
I've got to ask this. They love bringing ex-Geelong Falcons back into the fold, don't they?
Yeah.
And two that they brought back in, and they've really been very loyal to, are Rowan and Dalhouse. Now, I see the value of Rowan. He's still, when he can get that body together, he still has great closing speed. He causes some headaches for opposition defenders, no question. I question Dalhouse. He had an opportunity just before half-time, was it, to kick a goal that would have been of immense help to the Cats, and that's really
what his position. Do you mean the one he missed, or the one he gave one off to, or was it the other way?
No, he missed it. He sort of snapped it, and it didn't.
No, I know what I was thinking of. I think it was Parfitt had the chance to kick one and gave it to Dalhouse. Might have been that point, yeah. I thought Parfitt should have had the shot.
But Dalhouse seems to have been totally excused of any midfield responsibility, because he did do that at the Bulldogs early on in his career. So he's come as solely a forward.
A pressure forward.
Yeah, hopefully a goal-kicking, definitely a pressure forward. But you know what? There's so much pressure in the forward lines nowadays. I don't think he stands out as a pressure forward. He does his job, no question, but he's got to hit the scoreboard, doesn't he?
He does. And when you think back, I reckon the best footy Geelong has played in the last few years came in that first half of last season. Think about what the factors behind that were, and a big factor was that group of small pressure forwards they assembled, and he was part of that. You had Tom Atkins was playing a really important role for them in that. You had Gary Rowan bobbing up and playing a factor. You had Ablett working in the forward line. They've sort of lost that same amount of defensive heat on the opposition defence, I think, and that's a factor too. We'll keep moving on.
When we talk about players who are missing, I know he's not part of the midfield, but Tom Stewart's hugely important to that team.
Yeah, he's a general of their defence, no doubt about that.
They are missing a lot of key players, really.
When you think about it, yeah.
Duncan's very important.
Ablett is another one. So we talked about their midfield. So they lost Selwood before quarter time. Duncan didn't play. Narkle didn't play.
Stanley.
And Stanley.